Hey guys, how's it going? Mantas here. I'm just out here with my little cool scooter, and I thought it's been a while and I've done a lot of miles on the clock on this bike, and it's been a really, well, not really long time, but 10 months that I've owned this little thing for. And I thought, well, it's sunny, it's great weather, it's dryish sort of, and it's Valentine's Day, so I thought, why not make my review of the scooter finally on a nice Valentine's afternoon. Just talk a little bit about my bay here. Just gonna be probably splitting this review into 3 categories. So I'm gonna talk about the bad, the good, and just the trouble I had with this bike, just my own personal trouble. So if we start off with the bad, just get it done over with. Don't want trash talk this bike a bit too much. The bad, right? Most of these are probably gonna be common scooter problems. Probably most scooters that can't really be fixed, or can't really do anything about them. But I really want to talk about the lights. Probably like usual scooters, but the lights, right? So when you're driving at night, and let's just say there's a car or something 20 meters in front, the only thing that you're gonna see of those lights are gonna be the reflection of the number plate, and other things you're gonna see are the reflections of signs. You won't really see past 5 meters on the road with these lights. I'm talking about the low beams here. But the high beams, unless you're riding on the high beams, then it's gonna be trouble at night. This scooter is not the best for night ride unless you have a friend with you on a motorcycle. But I think this is a common problem for scooters. The only good lights are out here. Let me just show you. So the tail lights, so they're not on now, cause then it has to be on. But the brake lights, really bright, brighter than most bikes I've seen, which is, I guess, great. So you don't have to worry about anyone crashing to the back of you in the middle of the night. So that's the problem with the lights. The lights were, I guess, finished when I first bought the bike, and I didn't realize that. So I replaced the low beam light, which is sort of like a blue tint on it, which makes it more white looking. I don't know how. Moving on to the next problem, or the next bad thing, which is also probably a scooter thing. It was driving this bad boy on the road like this. Now, if you didn't notice, I'm actually on the big hill. Yeah, I drove up here, which I'll talk about that later. What I did last time was I gave a lot of speed, so I'm gonna try that again. Just like I said, guy, the true Kyrian spirit is in this bike. Let's park it somewhere nice and beautiful. Nice scenery as well. Nice scenery for the bike. Look at it. Looks great. But yeah, riding on roads like this, not like that, but like that there. You have the B roads and the A roads in the UK, as we call them. And problem with it is, it says the fuel consumption is 120. Now, unless you're in the city doing like 10 or 20 miles an hour, you're not gonna get near as much, you know what I mean. If you're like me and you done 5.5 grand in 10 months, and a lot of those miles were on, well, most of these miles were on the road like this. If you're the type of person that likes to go out of the cities and into the country or onto the high-speed roads, this thing is gonna eat fuel. Like you're gonna need to refuel at every 50 miles. which is it gets annoying. Not big a deal. I mean, it is a 7-liter tank, which I guess is alright for a scooter. It's a standard, I think. And you have motorcycles and 13 and 17 and stuff. But nevertheless, it actually does okay. It's not the best and it's not accurate to the specification, but it's alright. Alright, which brings me on to the next thing. That is maintenance. Two-stroke. The part that seems to have most of the trouble is not the engine, but this thing right here. That's the CVT system. And now, when it gets hot, when you drive a lot on roads like these for long periods of time, it gets hot, and things start to stretch, I guess, and deform and smell like plastic, and performance goes down by a whole lot. I had to tinker with this thing yesterday, as you can see by these chrome new bolts that I put in yesterday. And what I did was remove the cover and stuff like that. And I'll talk about all of that I did later, but the thing is, if you're gonna ride 50 miles, say, which is gonna take you about 3 hours doing 45 miles an hour, whatever. Approximately 45 miles an hour, I have cities and stuff. But if you're gonna be doing that, this is gonna get hot, and you're gonna start having problems. Another bad thing is bad thing for long road trips is the seat. Now, this seat is nice and soft and big, but when you sit on it for 3 hours, doing whatever 40 miles an hour, the whole season vibrating from the engine, your ass gets numb. When doing 3 hours of riding on this non-stop, or 2 hours, sorry, I can't feel my ass anymore. It's like I'm sitting on the bone. I can feel the bone rather than the ass. It's like my seat is on the bone, but there's like jello in the way, which is my numb ass. So long trips, this bike, not ideal. I'm just gonna go like sort of like scan through the backlights. The contacts on this back taillight is really, I don't want to say sensitive, but it's really, you do we push or something and it's gonna go off and you won't even notice it and people won't see you at night and you're fucked. So that happened to me, and my friend saw that my taillight wasn't working, and then my brake light stopped working because I hit the bump and it goes up a bit more, then whatever, it bends or something, the contacts. So I had trouble, had to remove this whole part, both these parts, and that part, and that part, to get to that. And I just had to like clean the contacts off and then sort of push them back together again so they connect, and it works well now. I had a couple times where the brake light stopped working, but it's not too bad. Other bad things is the rear suspension, and there's also a common scooter thing. That big spring, that single spring on the back is not ideal for bumps. If you're gonna be driving 45 miles an hour on this thing and you hit something like even like not even that, even smaller than this, which is not big, and you're gonna feel it on your ass. It's gonna be like ka-dunk. It's gonna feel like, I don't know, your bike's broken in two or something. And it happens a lot. I mean, every single, the texture on the road, you can feel it. It's when you drive, and whatever, if it's tarmac, if it's dirt like this, if it's rocks or if it's grass, you can feel it. Grass feels soft, rocks feel like you're gonna fall off. Dirt feels like, I don't know, dirt just feels like dirt. Then tarmac, you can feel every like one of those stones and asphalt and shit. It's just like kind of vibrating through you. It gets really annoying sometimes. Another thing, I suppose, that's not too best is climbing up long hills. Now, if you have to do short hills, great. I'll demonstrate it later, or I'll show a video later. But if you have to do long hill climbs, say about 100 meters into a hill, you're gonna be doing about 20 miles an hour, not more. Which is, that's again, a picking on scooters really. And that's all the problems really. There's not much else, stock related that might cause big concern as the things I mentioned. And now let's move on to the part I'm going to enjoy the most. And that's talking about the good things of this bike. And there's a lot of things I can talk about, and I'm not really sure where to start. So I'll just start from the bottom, go down. Right, number one, the mirrors. These mirrors, when you sit on the bike and you have the sun down, really great. When you set them up properly, you can see about from there. So this part you see yourself. This part you can see everything behind you. That's a good amount. That's a good amount of space for you to see behind. And I'm a big guy, really wide, really tall, really thick, and surprisingly, this is a small. Well, not surprisingly, but this is a really small bike. And the mirrors, they look great on it, and at the same time they do a great purpose. So, well done to Aprilia on these mirrors. Really great mirrors. Continue the work. Second thing, which I like, is this dash. No. If I'm comparing this to, say, a sports bike, then that's nothing special. But this is a scooter, guys, and don't forget that this is one of the best scooters out there. 50cc scooters, sorry. And this dash just shows the quality of the scooter and shows the sort of personality of the scooter. I mean, look at it. You have your indicator light, great. You have your high beams and stuff, which works when the engine's on. And you have the fuel light, so when the fuel is low, aka 1 liter left in it, this goes orange or amber. And you have the speedometer here, which is really cool. Dials and shit. And this is the best part. So you have the computer screen here, and it shows you your fuel, the amount of fuel you have left, which is great. It has a fuel indicator. It shows the temperature of the engine. So when it's 3 bars or halfway, that's when you know that's the optimum. That's where the best fuel is at, or sorry, the best temperature is at for the engine. And usually when I start the bike, I wait for 1 bar to go up before I drive it. Just it's just because it's 2-stroke. You need to mind that, or else you're gonna have trouble. Right. Another thing. God, I've been rambling for a long time here. Anyway, I'm gonna try and make this quick. Right. So, dash light, really great. I love it. Kill switch, also a great feature. That's not available on most scooters. Sorry, cool feature here. Most scooters don't have that. Electric start, great. You have your that's they're a bit they're great and soft, and the brakes are superb on this bike compared to others. But it could be better. You have your wee control switch here for the dash, so you can check out your trip. I've done 75 miles before I reset it. The voltage on your battery, and the amount of miles done. So that's a great little thing to have. I'm just gonna reset my trip real quick. Sorry about that. What else? The throttle. I suppose it can be modified and whatever to everyone's liking, but it's really responsive. Really, there's not a lot of play in it really. Which is great. Now moving on, you have the back of the bike. The thing I like about the back is the brakes. Now these brakes, really great. When you're doing about 40 miles an hour, you can use the rear brake as an emergency brake just as much as the front brake. I'm not sure that's a lot of cases on scooters, because the brake disc are the same size on front and back. But the rear brakes and the front brakes really great. Use them together, even better. But I really use one at a time, to be honest, to sort of mix up. One day I use front most, and then next day I use the back. And if it's wet, really wet or something, I use the both. Just whatever preference. Other great features. Right, the system. When you have, say, two-stroke scooters, when you fuel up, usually at the gas station, pour in the fuel, and you check how much you poured in. Then you take your little two-stroke oil, and you're like, you measure the amount. Oh, there's about, I don't know, 280 milliliters left. You pour it in, and a lot of times shit can go wrong if you miscalculate or something. There's a lot of smoke or the engine's too dry, it can seize up and a lot of trouble. But this Aprilia here is smart. Let me show you why. So, you take off this front cover here by screwing these two screws, Phillips head. And what you come across is the radiator right here, and oil. And this is where you pour in your two-stroke oil. It has a capacity of like 1.2 liters or something. So you pour in the oil, and this whole, whatever, 1.2 liters lasts me for about, I'd say 10 fuel ups. 10 fuel ups, 1.2 liters. Great. There's a electronic sort of like a system in the engine that determines how much oil, ignition and power, how much oil everything needs to work in the cylinders. And it's not actually that much, so it works really great. So you pour in the oil, you start the bike, you might smoke for a few minutes, then the smoke disappears, and that's when you know you're good to go. There's no smoke whatsoever. Usually most two-stroke bikes, when you do the oil yourself, then you start the bike, there's like blue smoke coming out of it and it doesn't stop, and you drive and it's like you leave a trail of blue smoke. This is not the case. This bike is a two-stroke, but it has the mindset of a four-stroke bike. And not just a four-stroke bike, but a four-stroke sports bike, because look at it. Everything is sharp design, really sharp, really fresh, young. You have the nice taillights, which were borrowed, or the headlights, which are borrowed from the RS125, which is a sports bike. And the whole design is borrowed from that bike and brought into a scooter. And to be honest, it behaves more like a sports bike than a scooter. The handling, when it comes to handling, you can go really low on this bike. I mean, low either side. When you're on the roundabout, I mean, I'm sure you can touch the knees with this bike if you know how to. I'm not gonna bother in case you die. But yeah, handling really great. Great avoiding doing slaloms, avoiding bumps and shit on the road. Really great handling, love it. Brakes really great, really sharp brakes. Again, something that usually is on a sports bike. So handling, design, and brakes of a sports bike. And it feels like a sports bike, and it looks sort of like a sports bike, but it's like if I were to describe this bike, it's a sports bike trapped in a scooter's body. That's the way I would describe it. It's really great. I love it. Yeah, if you're a new rider and you're looking for a bike, or a 50cc bike, usually if you're 16, then go for this. This thing is great. I love it. Even if you're not 16, but you're looking for something for the city, if you live in a big city like Berlin or London or Paris or whatever, this bike is great. I don't see why people hate it. And I challenge anyone to find me a better looking 50cc stock bike better than this. So, this brings me to my third and final category before we go on the test drive, before it starts raining, because the mist is coming at me. And that's the problems I had myself, and that's the sort of problems that not everyone's gonna have. So, number one, this is sort of the big problem for me, was the steering bearings thingies, whatever. So when I was riding with my friend, we went around we went basically into a circle through a bunch of towns, and when we came back to this town, I noticed that I was waiting at an intersection and was trying to turn right. My steering was straight at the moment. Then the light turned green. I tried to twist the handlebar to the right, it just wouldn't. And I didn't notice it. I was really startled, and it started going straight. And they sort of, to avoid that, to avoid me going straight and hitting a car or something, I had to bend myself doing about 5 miles an hour, and I almost slipped and fell and shit. And the problem was that when you turned to this side, it was like really stiff. It was really hard. It was like that. It was really slow and hard and horrible. And this side was just fine, you know, whatever. And then a couple months later, because I didn't have enough money to get this fixed, so a couple of months later, this side happened. This is when I went into emergency mode. I was like, "Fuck, mom, dad, help me!" Because I literally couldn't ride. The only way I could steer was by bending, and at low speeds that was a big problem, and didn't feel that right. And when you hit a speed bump or something, and you start like bump, bump, and then the steering would wiggle, and that was really annoying me. Like, it wasn't fun to ride the bike anymore. It didn't feel right, so I had to get it fixed. I just had to. So that the fixing cost. Oh shit! What happened here? What happened here? The fixing cost. What was it, like £185? Most of it, which were labor, 4 hours of labor on the front. And there's like I'll post a picture, just how the bike looked like when it was in that state. And £45 for the bearings, which got replaced, and first couple, you know, like tenths of miles were sort of weird, wonky. But the bike is back to its normal roots, and let's move on to the next problem, which was, and this is all throughout 10 months. Next problem was this. Now, big problem here is that S is held by 2 screws, one here, or 2 bolts, one here, one there. And the way it works is like one bolt goes in, and you have the nut to tighten it from the other side, which is really hard to get to. And then you have the manifold itself, which is another 2 little bolts with not nuts, but I don't know what they are. Some really weird bolts. And that goes in into the sort of like up, which is also really hard to get to unless you have an extension. So luckily I did, and that was no problem. And this screw became loose, and I didn't notice it. And when this screw became loose, it sort of undid itself and fell out one day, and I didn't notice. And then over time, this became looser, and this screw became loose, and it then became, you know, the more you drive it, the looser it became. So it came to the stage where the exhaust was like, you can lift the exhaust and then like, you know, like push it down, whatever. It would like wobble on the speed bumps and stuff. What happened over time is that this thing just snapped. It was literally this part from here. No, from here. What's this here? Jesus, look at it. Jesus Christ. Anyway, this part from here to here was snapped in half. It was held by this one screw, which is like, you could rotate the whole exhaust. And that part, where were broken off, was held by the manifolds, or the manifold. Which was, you know, I did get it fixed instantly. Well, didn't get it fixed, but got it welded by some random mechanic for 10 quid. And then I had to repaint it because it was all rusty. And look at it. This was repainted like a month ago, black. And look at it now. Looked black when I put it on the first time. Yeah, that was a really long and, I wouldn't say costly, but really annoying process to get. You have to lay in that, say, you sort of had to like fidget your 3 fingers that you had, get to it to tighten it up. First time I tightened it up, it became loose again. So next time I got those snap washers. I put them on the other side and really dumped them really tight. And look at it now, held by one bolt. Yeah, perfect. You know, is great. This is what I wanted the first time. Other thing is this. I had to undo this whole thing, take it out, take all the parts except for the clutch, take out the variator, the rollers, you know. I spray them up with WD, then sort of like not brush them away, but dry them up, put it all back together and stuff, and then put it back on together, and it works like a charm. It accelerates like a charm for about a week, and a week later, back to its back old shitty roots. And you have to do it again and again and again and again and again if you want to maintain that the power of the bike and the acceleration of the bike that it's actually supposed to be like. And you have to do this stuff over and over again. And I don't know why it just doesn't stop. Why it doesn't just go away. But it's there. It's annoying. I had to do it yesterday. Spent about 3 hours working on that. Really annoying. Really long process undoing all those bolts because there's 15 of them. Taking it out with rubber mallet so to smash it up and pull it out. This got stuck with super glue, so I can't pull this thing apart. And then, you know, undo the radiator and stuff, and just a long process, really annoying process that most people won't bother. The coolant, never had to actually replace the coolant, although I should. Yeah, it's on the max. But it looks dirty. It looks dirty. Yeah, it looks really dirty. I have to replace it soon. But coolant works great. Cools your engine really well. The radiator works well. Tires, the problem I have, nothing bad with the front tire, but the rear tire. Whoever owned the bike previously was trying to do a tire job himself. That's what we assume. And when he was trying to take the tire apart, use some sort of crowbar, some sort of sharp object, get in there, got into the sides here. And what happened was he made a lot of dents on the sidewall, like on the opposite side of this. And what I noticed was that my tire went flat. I was like, shit, that was on the Kyrgyzstan road trip that we did with my friends, coming the way home. And what happened was the tire went flat. Went to the mechanic, see what's the problem, because I didn't know where the leak was. He was looking all around, you know, he was spraying the whole thing. I was like, looking around, I was like, can't find it. Then sort of the water got a bit on the side. You can see the bubble up right on this part here. When it bubbled up, that's when it bubbled up, we noticed that it was bubbling all over the place. That was the main problem. So then the next week or whatever, got the new tire in, which is this Avon Viper Strike. And the young mechanic of his then called me up and showed me the wheel, and you can see like someone take his crowbar just like scraping through the whole sides, every single side, and it looked horrible. But he said he tried, you know, he got the thingamajig that you spray into the tire to sort of like, it's like a foam, and it glued the side together. I noticed sometimes when it rains and I stop, I leave the day for the night, or leave the bike for the night, come back the next morning, I can see bubbles here sometimes, like not a lot, just a little bit. So the glue, as I'm guessing, is wearing off. And my tire is sort of it's not 31 psi, it's about 26, 20, I'd say. So I need to reinflate my tire, and the more often you do it, the more often the problem recurs. Any other problems? Yeah, well, like I said, the taillights stopped working. I have to get into that. The headlights, didn't notice that the bulb was finished, basically broken, so I had to replace that. I only replaced it once, so it's holding up. And this mirror here, it can never go tight, no matter how tight you got this bolt. Over time, the more bumps you hit, this will get loose, and when you drive high speeds, this pushes the mirror and you can't see anymore what's behind you. So what we tried to do, we spent about 2 hours with my brother and my dad just gluing the whole thing together, It turns out the problem is with the bracket, the actual bracket, so I got to get a new one. It's like broken or something. I don't know what's wrong with it, to be honest, but all I know is just need to get a new one to get fixed. And this mirror, you can see, it's as tight as it can be, but then again, yep, it's annoying. Sometimes we hit a bump at high speed and it just like pops. Right, any more problems? Let's check. Spark plug. Yeah, spark plug was really old. A standard spark plug. The old spark plug could do 45 miles an hour, and I replaced it with iridium spark plug, and it starts great. It revs well. It doesn't die off or anything. But I can only do 40 miles an hour now. The top speed went down by 5 miles. Just because I got the iridium spark plugs. So if you're gonna replace your spark plugs, don't get the iridium ones, please. Just get standard spark plugs and get them replaced, whatever. If you're not confident, get someone else who knows their shit to do it for you. So yeah, that's I think that's most of the problems I had. Again, this is sort of associated with that, but the uphill riding, not great. When I first bought the bike, I could do about 25 miles an hour up a hill, and over time, the harder it got, and the more I rode. Went up for 20 miles, went down to 20 miles. Then my neck's really hurting. And then went down to 15 miles, and I was like, shit, I can handle this anymore. I want to look into this. And that's when I discovered this thing. Got so like sort of like, mix up the rollers, do the cleaning thing, and put it back together. 25 miles an hour again. And a couple of weeks later, 20 miles. And a couple of weeks later, 15 miles, and just like a repetitive process. That. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess since we're gonna make this video really long and really detailed, make sure to ask me any questions that you feel like you want to ask. The horn is shit, by the way. Just saying. The horn in this bike is really bad. Got a new one replaced. Worked well for about a day. Then it started became dollar and dollar and dollar and dollar eventually, until it's sort of the moment where it's shit. So if you have any questions, please ask me, because I feel like I'm not answering. I feel like I'm forgetting to mention something. Oh yeah, the stand. Wow, this is really unorganized. The stand, really shit. The original stand, problem with it was over time, if you use this side, the actual leg breaks off, just snapped off. So threw that out. Fuck that. Can't be bothered. It was really rewelded and shit before I bought the bike. On this side, the more I use it, and the bike starts to lean on this side, and the more it leans, the more weight it puts on it. The more weight it puts on it, the more it leans again, and it starts to bend. And then it comes to a stage where you put the bike down on the stand, and the bike is like that. It's like on a side stand, and it's really brittle. So if you're on a hill and you do this, topples over. It happened a couple of times, but that side's fine. That's why I got a new stand. Aftermarket, also from Italy, made of steel, high quality steel, which rests like shit. So it was shitty steel. And the leg broke off again, but the mechanic that I got the guy who fixed the bearings for me, rewelded it free charge, and he didn't do it straight or something, so the bike is leaning on that side once again. Hopefully it doesn't get bad. 2 months left to ride this thing, and I'm gonna miss it. I'm not gonna give it away though. I decided to keep it just because over these 10 months I really fell in love with this thing, and I wanted to stay in the family for as long as I can. So this is gonna be like my new project bike. See how much spare money we have. We can put a sports exhaust on it, and then we can focus on the air filter, carbs, do a little bit of probably weight reduction in the front, and turn this into a wheeling badass. And increase top speed and hopefully get a 70cc kit, which would be great. This you can use this scooter for racing. Take it on the track. Yeah. I also want to talk about my result. You know, this review is not gonna be short. I want to talk about the mods I've done. So once again, start from the bottom, go down. Carbon fiber fins, really bad quality, really bad glue work, but I've got it done. And something hit this here, scrape this thing off. Yeah, really bad looking from near, but really nice looking from afar, I'd say. Another thing, so yeah, both on both sides. Another thing is this nice tire paint, which took me ages, because you need to be so precise and accurate, and you fuck something up, it's gonna be all over the place. So looks made it look a bit nicer, I'd say, especially when the bike is clean. So that's the mods, both wheels, both tires, both wheels, both sides, sorry. And the rim tape on the front was there before I bought this bike. There's no rim tape on the back, and I don't see why would you need it there? Look at the wheel, it gets so dirty. If there's anything that I hate about this bike more than the CVT system, is this dirt. It's like, I washed the bike like 3 days ago. Look at it. It's completely dirt. It's like it's like I took it to a rally or something. But yeah, you have the shark fins, paint, this little camera holder thing for the drift. That's the thing I used for when I did my my coastal ride video. And you have my name here. You have I can't hear anything because this truck is loud. You know, see what's it there. You have a Michelin sticker here, which is funny because none of my tires are Michelin, except my rear tire was before it went bust. Again, my name here, and you have the OK sign with the flag of my country. You can probably guess what that is. Anything else? Just a bunch of stickers, really. I haven't done really, the bike's pretty much all stock, and we'll get into the test ride soon. So yeah, the wheel paint was there with the original. That's how you buy the bike, really. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much else to talk about on this bike. Riding for passenger, you can do it, but it struggles. And this is actually marked as a one-seater in the UK, and outside the UK it's kind of like a two-seater. Don't know why. I guess because it's 50cc and you're always going to be riding on L plates, so you're not allowed to take passengers in L plates, blah 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 blah, something like that, right? So yeah, that's pretty much all I want to talk about. Like I said before, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them and I will answer them as best as I can. This review is not really anything professional that I'm doing. It's really just for fun and to let people know how I feel about the bike myself, now that I owned it 10 months and ridden it for like 8 of them. And yeah, overall, if I had to describe this bike as in one sentence, I'd say it's a magnificent masterpiece of a sports bike wannabe. It nails everything so well, and it looks like a scooter, but it just wants the youth, and it attracts a lot of youth. I mean, you see your local chav, you'll either have an Aerox 50 or this, or a Speed Fight. This is still beautiful. Yeah, I really love this bike. I'd recommend it to anyone who's a new rider, never ridden a bike before. It gets you used to riding bikes and gets you used to really well on two wheels. And if you're moving off from this to a sports bike, which I'm doing soon, and a really big sports bike to be more accurate, I mean, this is a great thing. I don't see why anyone would get a different scooter than that. Like, why? Look at it. It's being all crashed up and scraped, not by me though. All over the place, and stickers missing here, and another big thing here, and it still looks great. Other scooters, you put a wee dent in it, and it looks like shit for the rest of it. That it lives. So yeah, really great design, really great bike. Not too economical on the big roads. Really great in the city though. You look cool in it. That's another thing. You look really cool in it. Usually on a scooter it looks like a faggot, but I'd say when I sit on this bike at traffic lights, and if I step away a couple steps, I mean, look at that. It's like, it looks like the bike it's meant to be there. And it's bright and colorful. And, when me and our friend were at a park, in the parking lot, we started looking at the distance, at all the cars. And the only thing that stood in our eyes were our two bikes. His was yellow, mine was orange. These were the only two things that were colorful enough to catch our attention. All the rest were just dull black, white, silver, dark blue cars and shit. And these were just magnificent. Oh, I forgot to mention also the dash light has a clock, which is useful if you need to manage your time a lot. Yeah, look at the bike now. It's just leaning. It's just dug into the fucking mud. So yeah, nevertheless, I'm gonna put this back on, and we can go straight into the test ride.
Holy shit. No, there ain't no stopping us. Fly without boarding pass. Couldn't catch me, I be moving fast. Call me a shooting star. Let 'em know who you are. Flying up in a bar. Wish on a star. Time to show 'em who's in charge. Call me a shooting star. Didn't even get to bronze. I'm moving too far. Get to glance. Looking at a shooting star. Got more than a couple of people going mad. I swear they're rooting hard. Tell them I'd be big in the game like she went and got them breast implants. I said I'm moving too fast, didn't even get to glance. I'm ready to eat up track like I'm seated in a restaurant. If you had swag like mine, you know it's best to flaunt. We aren't hating because you aren't shining like it's neon, rock like kings of Leon. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Shooting stars across the galaxy. I stand out, so don't be mad at me. Infiltrate, I'm with my strategy. When I turn up, then I just have to leave. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting. Yeah, shooting shots. Shooting stars. Shooting stars. Didn't even get to